I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we dive into a compelling book called When Penguins Fly, an Ascension Enhancement Project. It's written by a terrific author. His name is Andrew Patrick Timothy Michael Craig. This thought-provoking work explores the journey of overcoming personal trauma, embracing higher spiritualism, and addressing the impending challenges facing humanity through the lens of numerology and higher consciousness. Join us as we uncover how Andrew's life experiences and insights offer a path to enlightenment and global transformation. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Authors Tranquility Press for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Andrew, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Well, it's great to be with you, Logan, and it's an honor. It's an honor.
The honor is all mine. This is a terrific book. It's very, very insightful. What inspired you to write When Penguins Fly, and what does the title mean?
Well, boy, it's a metaphysical book, and I've been studying higher spiritualism for about 30 years, 20 years of which I've studied with a group called the Council-of-8, and the Council-of-8 came here in 1945 after we dropped the 2 atomic bombs on Japan. And the sun had had enough. And so our father, mother, son was going to take the earth out, just wrap it in a fist of coronal mass extrusion and kill everything on it 1,000 miles deep. And so my guys came to tell the sun to stand down and to take care of things. They would take care of them. So after 5 years, they determined they could not understand man's inhumanity to man. It could not be understood except by experiencing it. And so they dropped me in 1950, and I started living my life and experiencing man's inhumanity to man. And I got it thoroughly. Yeah. And so in 2020, 75 years later, they decided that they had made no progress with their traditional mechanisms for lifting a planet to higher dimensions of consciousness. And so they quit the normal procedures, and for the first time in the history of the universe, they developed enhanced procedures to lift a planet to a higher dimension of consciousness. And part of those procedures are my writing this book. My senior being, Shugala, just casually said in a conversation with me one night that, hey, maybe you might want to write. That's all he said. Yeah. That's why I wrote the book. Wow. He didn't say write that book. He didn't say what to write about. He just said, hey, maybe you want to write. Yeah. And so I somehow was inspired to write that book. The book tells about, is focused on population growth, because from when I was born in 1950, there were 2.5 billion people. And 2020, 70 years later, there's 7.5 billion people. That's a triple. You triple from here forward, you got 22.5 billion people in 2090. Yeah. Now, between 1950 and 1970, we added 5 billion. Between 2020 and 2090, we would add 15 billion if we triple. But the problem is that's an entire lifetime for people in power. So they have lived a whole life with population growth as the background. Everything works a lot better with population growth. After wars, everybody has population growth. So now we're starting to see the thing that the sun was so concerned about. The sun was concerned, which the sun is a sentient being and the planet Earth is a sentient being. And fairy penguins are sentient beings, okay? So there's a lot of things you can do with sentience, okay? But anyhow, the sun was concerned when the atomic bombs were dropped that would lead to an evolution of explosives that could crack the Earth and cause it centrifugal force to blow it apart. And that was just unacceptable. The sun is the father mother of us. That was a mother. The planets came out of its equator. It's the father of us because it feeds us nutrition and heat, and it excuse me, and it protects us. And so fundamentally, the sun was going to take us out to protect the solar system. And so, two reasons for that. When Mother Earth became mature to where she could perceive other beings upon her surface, source. I'm going to use the word source rather than God, but source asked her if she would allow lower vibrational frequencies on the planet. And she agreed to do that. Unfortunately, she's the only planet in the universe that agreed to do it, in this universe that agreed to do it. And so we got the full load. Okay. So she got the dinosaurs, and she got the predators, she got the carnivores, she got all of that, and she got all of the lowest vibrational frequencies of human beings in the universe. And there are astounding numbers of human beings in the universe. We're not the only ones. So, that's the primary reason that we got in so much trouble. And the secondary reason is just that the evolution of the man's inhumanity to man. And it just steamrolled. And so, now we're seeing in the newspapers here in Houston, I've seen just in the last week several diagrams that show where all the Russian nuclear bombs will land, which cities they will land in, and what the kill rate will be. The kill rate on one of them was 75% of our American population. Kill rate on the other one was 85% of our American population. We have like 300 million people. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people that would be killed in less than a day, probably. Okay, and this is what the sun was concerned about back when my people first came here. And because we had made no progress in 75 years, they switched to alternative procedures. And part of it is the book. And so my personal belief is this is the most important book on the planet today. Yeah. It's a must read. It's a must read for every human being on the planet. It's not a deep philosophical thing, but it is has doorway after doorway after doorway to higher dimensions of consciousness. Yeah. And the fairy penguins are just beautiful little beings to carry the torch forward for humanity instead of being mammals that are monkey-based. Human beings would become, I guess, flying beings. Right. Flying swimming beings. Right. Anyhow, we become fairy-based penguins. Is our genetic stock that we grow out of. And the reason for that is because they have a colony mind. Dominantly, it's because they have a colony mind. They think not only of their own goodwill, but they think of everyone else's goodwill in the colony, because the colony is that important. Everybody's survival is contingent on every other being's survival in the colony. And that really is what human beings are lacking. We're so singularly focused. It's difficult to have compassion for other human beings, empathy and compassion for other human beings.
Yeah, the interrelatedness is so important, and we do need to have that compassion and empathy for other human beings. Unfortunately, when you were growing up early on, you received some harsh life lessons. Your dad was tough on you, and that has influenced this book, I think, right? Tell us a little bit about how your life experiences, particularly your early life experiences, shape the themes that you explore in the book.
Yeah. Well, first I was born premature, I guess you would call it nowadays. And so I was, and at the time, you know, we were poor, so mom went home and I was left in the hospital. So that
Mm.
had abandonment issues. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was fed intravenously for several weeks,
Mm.
maybe a little more than that, in order to grow big enough to keep food in my stomach and be
Yeah.
taken home, you know. Pops had issues in life. He's a brilliant man, but he had issues, and he took to beating me for
Mm.
whatever reason. We had kind of he would have us dance, he would call it, you know, and he would make me strip bare ass naked and just belt whip me like I was a rented mule.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm like 50 pounds, you know. I mean, it
Mm.
influences you, you know. Now
Yeah.
understand, I love my father, and I went
Mm.
into inner space and I took him to the highest place in the afterlife to which he would be entitled by any single deed he did in his entire life. I, I had nothing but love for my father. I
Mm.
have no residual anger or angst. And I understand he communicated with me 2 months after he died and expressed his appreciation for my having done that for him. And then he communicated to me 12 years after he died, and
Mm.
he told me, uh, gave me hints as to why he might have been that violent with me.
Yeah.
But then also, you know, I ran out in front of a car,
Mm.
got run over and killed. The first time I got killed, I got crushed under the right front wheel. I was crushed so badly I couldn't be resurrected by my higher spiritual beings. So they took my energetic bodies back through space and time to when my little baby body was born and dropped my energetic bodies, you know, the soul, spiritual body, mental and emotional body, vibrational and astral bodies,
Mm.
took them back and started me over. So they
Mm.
truncated that first timeline. And I've lived that again. And the second, so they did two other things. They named me Andrew, Patrick, Timothy, Michael, Craig. Numerology rocks. I mean, it just rocks.
Yeah.
It's Catholic, you know. I was
Yeah.
Catholic, you know, and it's Archangel and Apostle, you know, Catholic saints, you know, and there's 11, a 33 and 11, a 33 and 11, they add to 99, you know, all this stuff. My birthday's at 33,
Mm.
but it goes to a 6, and the 6 is obstacles you came to overcome. I came to overcome family and obstacles in family and community. I was not in the wrong place. Nothing wrong was happening. I tell the story sometime to people and they say, wow, man, you lived a harsh life. And I said, you know, it seemed that way. And then I just bow and I said, up until I got the wisdom.
Yeah.
And all of our life experience leads to the wisdom.
Mm.
When the wisdom opens up, there's nothing but joy. The wisdom
Yeah.
is just so spectacular and it continues to expand. And once you've kind of cracked the seal on it, it just continues expanding. And it's almost like you're in a metaphysical life where little life lessons are taught to you every day by people you meet in the grocery store or other people that are just casual,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, contacts. It's a really special thing. So
Mm.
anyhow, I wrote the book that's what the book is. The book is it's a wisdom book. So
Mm.
it does that same thing. If you read it,
Mm.
maybe just a month later from when you read it,
Yeah.
new revelations will occur because
Yeah.
months later, you're not the same person from
Right.
read the book the first time. You continue rolling with that. And there's all other sorts of things it leads into. So it's it's been a gift to write it. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been a gift to the folks who will read it as well. So we appreciate you writing it. You talk about Ascension enhancement. Tell us a little bit about this and how readers can apply it to their own lives.
well, I'm going to start with what I call listening. Okay, so
Mhm.
we're taught judgmental listening from day one.
Right.
Now, part of it seems to be reasonable. You know, you got to stand in judgment. You don't want people taking advantage of you. You know,
Mhm.
but judgmental listening keeps us small.
Mm.
It keeps us locked into an accumulation of truths at any point in time. but it
Mhm.
doesn't really allow for expansion. Okay.
Mhm.
So I've coined a phrase I call generous listening.
Mhm.
And when I drive for a rideshare company, I've talked with 20,000 people over the last couple of years. It's been quite an honor to have them in my space with me.
Mhm.
But they teach me every day. I'm learning from them. And so the generous listening, I call upon all that's sacred in the universe to send me those that will inspire me and those that may be inspired by me. And then I just set out to drive it. And then I find myself ping-ponging inspiration back and forth with people that I have riding with me. And it's just a wonderful experience, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so that's an ascension process in itself.
Yeah.
It's shifting out of this grim judgment of life into the possibility and potentialities of life. It's a subtle and simple thing, but it's profound also. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really a beautiful experience to ping pong joy and inspiration back and forth. But you've got to listen for inspiration too. You must include the other party in the conversation. You can't just have your own inspirations and pour them on somebody else. You create an interaction between you where you're inspiring each other. And you can kind of hear what you might say that will inspire that person. You can hear it in the background conversation and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that's a subtle and simple one. There's a website called Grand Secrets of Spiritual Mysteries.com, which I and others listened the ascension procedures and or ascension teachings into. And there's 158 pearls of wisdom there. And I promise you, the last 10 or so, you're out of your body. You know, you have left the building, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you might be sitting there looking at yourself from the wall, looking back at yourself. So there's specific procedures that the Council of Eight has downloaded into human consciousness to allow for everybody, anybody that wants to enter those specific teachings is available. 0 through 92 affect the mental body and emotional body. Everybody's familiar with those, so anybody can do that. 93 through 158 also include the vibrational body. Not very many people are familiar with the vibrational body, so they want to have a little discussion with you to make sure you're okay before you listen to the second half of the teachings. But I didn't notice any difference. So it's not like it's like you got to get out and give me 40, man. You know, it's not not like boot camp or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In what way does your book address the challenges of a rapidly growing global population?
Hmm. Well, it basically takes two approaches. Uh, it creates a ounce of prevention and a pound of cure. In the pound of cure, we protect the rest of the solar system from uh, catastrophic nuclear war on the planet Earth that would result in the planet disintegrating. Okay, so we create a dodecahedron to
Mhm.
protect the rest of the solar system.
Mhm.
And then in addition to that, we have a lifeline to higher dimensions of consciousness for those who can go to the fifth dimension of consciousness with their Mother Earth. And we have multiple lifelines for everyone else that's reassigned to other planets on the Earth. If you don't go to the fifth dimension with Mother Earth, you get reassigned to other planets because this planet is done. At the end game, unspoken end game, is that the sun is going to neutralize the planet when he's had enough of us.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get everybody redistributed before the sun says, okay, ride's over, get out, you know? So, because the problem is that you can't just take the people off the planet, what they leave behind is so catastrophic. Think of all the power stations that would blow up. Think of the nuclear weapons that would be laying there that might, for some reason, explode or set off other things. There's so much toxicity on the planet that is being constantly supervised by human beings. When you take the human beings off the planet, you wind up creating just a catastrophe of toxicity on the planet. So I think that ultimately, and I haven't written it yet, but I think ultimately the sun wraps the earth in a fist of coronal mass extrusion and creates it as having more like a glass surface, where it's basically distilled everything into a dull sphere of maybe 100 miles thick of a glassy kind of substance, where no one really is going to be attracted to the planet and get involved in the toxicity we've left behind. It was one of the most beautiful planets in the universe when Source came to have a conversation with her. And let me just give a quick rundown on dimensions of consciousness, because that's
that'd be great. Love to hear it.
So everything's defined by dimensions of consciousness. This is not a religion. It's not to replace, it doesn't invalidate religion. It doesn't anything. But the third dimension of consciousness is sex, money, and power. You can look at everything behind each of us here. It's all sex, money, and power. The fourth dimension of consciousness is awakened awareness. If you don't awaken to your immortality and become intimately aware of your immortality, then you can't go to higher dimensions of consciousness. Fifth dimension of consciousness, we're immortal. This species on this planet is a single organism, thinks with one mind, speaks with one voice, and it's made up of each of us individually, but we're also single organisms. We can take that single organism and travel anywhere in the universe and be consciously connected. I mean, we can detach from the single organism and travel anywhere in the universe, be consciously disconnected from the single organism, but also, consciously connected to the single organism. So every speck of our experience is fed back to the single organism, which can then download it into all of the other single organisms in the species. Naturally, given that kind of experience, not that many beings want to travel because they get the same thing out of it anyhow. But I'm a traveler, so I'll be traveling. But anyhow, it's a spectacular thing to be in the fifth dimension of consciousness, and but you can't have any attachments. You can't have emotional attachments. You can't have mental attachments. If you're intent upon having one more love, or I failed at that last thing I did, I want to go out on a whim. Okay, you're going to reincarnate in the third dimension of consciousness, and that's fine. It's just you won't be in the fifth. That's all. And the fifth is a spectacular thing. When the Big Bang occurred, boom, the source included in the Big Bang little packets of itself, a godzillion amount of them, and banged them out to the whole universe. And so we're sitting here now, and so the packet of source that we attach to is called soul. So our soul is immortal, and because source is immortal, and these are the only things that are immortal in the whole universe. Planets are not immortal, but the soul of a planet is immortal. The sun's not immortal, but the soul of the sun is immortal. And so, when we're in the fifth dimension of consciousness, when we're traveling around, we're staying connected soul to soul to the fifth dimensional being. Well, obviously, that means we're staying, source is the ultimate single organism.
Right.
And so source is connected to us in communication with us 24/7.
Hmm.
Every sensation we have, every thought we have, so we are part of God's experience continuously. It's, and this is a revelation I had after I was just writing the book and just thinking about fifth dimensional consciousness. I said, well, if that's how it is at the fifth dimension, and there's 11 dimensions of consciousness and sources outside of that, well, certainly this is the minimum contact that source would have with us, which is this continual, feedback loop. And
Hmm.
so, it's so when we kill a person, we kill the body, but we don't kill the soul. You know, if you drop a nuke on somebody, it turns out even that can't kill a soul. But those souls are damaged. Those souls have experienced stuff they never wanted to experience, and it might take them extreme amount of time to recover from that, just the shock of it. So I'm not saying it's a trivial event. It's
Right.
definitely not a trivial event, but it does not destroy. It cannot kill the soul.
Yeah.
So,
We have a couple of minutes left. Just wanted to ask you, how do you envision the future of humanity if we fail to embrace higher consciousness?
well, just stumbling around lost, I mean, kind of clueless about where we are and where we're headed. We may do that for a million years. There's no particular need that there be some dramatic failure or anything like that. It's um, human beings are uh, human beings that were given free will choice are going to make mistakes and they're going to get stuck. And source provided for that by creating um, rescue teams like the Council of Eight to come and help rescue them. And so we'll just keep coming and help rescuing people as long as it is. Nobody has to do anything different. That's the whole brilliance of the universe is there's not a right and wrong answer. There's just, possibilities and potentialities rippling all around you. And you can wake up one day and all of a sudden the light goes off, boom, and something changes for you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be what I might consider good or bad, or you might consider good or bad. It's just, it's, you're inspired and you're moving to your inspiration. And so I think we're going to do great. The
Well, it's good.
species is going to do fine.
Good, good. Well, it's good to leave the folks at home on that note that we will survive, we will thrive. And I think by the law of order, almost, we will embrace this higher consciousness, or at least that's my hope and prayer for sure. The name of the book is When Penguins Fly, an Ascension Enhancement Project by a terrific author, Andrew Patrick Timothy Michael Craig. This thought-provoking work explores the journey of overcoming personal trauma, embracing higher spiritualism, and addressing the impending challenges facing humanity through the lens of numerology and higher consciousness. It is a wonderful read. It is a provocative read. It'll help you in your daily life and will help us together as a planet. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Bless you and your audience, Logan.
Bless you. I
Bless you.
appreciate your time, your wisdom, your insights, and your candor today. It's been a great conversation. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.